Alright guys, time for another Friday the 13th review for you guys. And we are on to Friday the 13th Part 2. Most of this movie, the bulk of the movie, takes place 5 years after the first film. Even though it was filmed only a year, this came out only a year after the original one. Because then when they get out, came out in 1981, before even the sequel to Halloween, which they were, ripping off, even though it's nothing like Halloween, because Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween, is this suspenseful, slow burner of a horror movie with Michael Myers stalking, his victims, babysitters, whatever, and Mrs. Voorhees in the first one is just killing people left and right. Same thing with this one, only this time, they thought, okay, we want to make a sequel. How can we do it? Jason. Now, I don't know, there's been discussion about what the ending of the first one meant. Was she dreaming? Was it real? And if it was real and it's only 5 years later, then, this kid Jason pops out and 5 years later he's an adult. So you could say, oh, she was dreaming, but Jason is still out there. Who knows? They wanted to make a sequel, so they brought Jason in. Jason in this version does not have the mask like here. He's a sackhead Jason as he is in this one and the beginning of the third one. Our final girl this time is Ginny, and to me, she's one of the strongest final girls in the Friday the 13th franchise, if not the strongest. Because what's her name in the first one? I forgot her name. The final girl in the first one. It's not Annie. That was the one that got killed off right away. I forgot her name. Oh my god. But she's killed off at the beginning of this one when Jason shows up with her mother's head. His mother's head, my bad. His mother's head, Pamela's head, in the fridge. And then when they show at the end, it's different. It doesn't look anything like Betsy Palmer. And I asked a question about that on my Facebook group. Killer Flicks, and someone replied, well, it's been 5 years. The beginning happens right away, and then 5 years later, is when the rest of the plot takes place. So Jason is an adult, and it happens sometime shortly after the first one. So you have to assume that what she saw at the end of the first one was a dream. But Jason is really out there to get her, and he kills her, stabs her. Adrienne King comes back for that, and and then we get our characters for this film. Crazy Ralph returns for a short cameo because he's killed off later with barbed wire around the throat. We have Ginny, who's the final girl. I said that we have her boyfriend Paul, who's sort of the Steve of this group, as he, he's trying to once again rebuild a camp, it's a different camp. It's not the camp, it's a different camp. How many camps do they have along the same lake? I don't know, but and there's your other group of cannon fodder, Jeff and Sandra, who are the couple. And Jeff, I think they're trying to copy Kevin Bacon from the first one, because Jeff looks a little bit like Kevin Bacon if you think about it, and Sandra. And then you have Terry and some other characters, and the wheelchair guy, Mark, I think his name is. Talking about Mark, his death is probably one of, if not my favorite death of the entire franchise, and that's the wheelchair kill, he's looking outside, what happened, he gets a cleaver to the face, and he rolls down the big steps, even though it's, it ends with the freeze frame, and like with, Claudette's kill beginning of the first one, but just kind of freeze frames. Shing! But yeah, that's one of my favorite kills. Excuse me, sorry. If not my favorite kill, I'm not quite sure. I have to, as I watch the series going forward, whether or not it is my favorite or not. But yeah, And once again, and I think that, they're trying to copy the first one. I don't say just intentionally, but in the first one, there was the one character where her death was, you don't know how she died. She was at the archery field. The light came on or whatever, and then it cut. And then the next thing you see her, she's tied up with a rope, thrown through a window. Well, you see Terry. You see like Jason, the camera coming up upon her. She goes, ah! And you don't see her again until the climax. She's dead next to the severed head of Mrs. Voorhees. And you don't know how she died. She's dead. You just don't know how she died. And that's confusing. Another confusing aspect of this film is Paul. During the climax, when Paul and Ginny come back and find all the dead bodies, Jason attacks. Paul gets his ass kicked by Jason and is presumed dead. He then shows up later and fights Jason and gets his ass kicked again. But then Ginny uses her psychology. She's a psychology major. She uses that. She puts on Mrs. Voorhees' sweater and pretends to be Mrs. Voorhees, and then she cleaves him upside the head and supposedly kills him, which leads to them going back to the cabin and thinking something's after him, but it's the dog Muffin, who we saw mutilated earlier. Clearly that was Muffin, but is there, and then there's a Jason through, and you can see like this long-haired hillbilly Jason grabs her, and then it cuts again, much like the original, and she's just on a gurney being put into an ambulance, saying, "Where's Paul? Where's Paul? Where's Paul?" And is Jason dead? What happened? We're gonna get a third one. They say he is, but I don't know. And what happened to Paul? Is Paul dead? Is Jason dead? Who knows? I really don't. That's never really discussed again. And there's a scene, because there's this big group this time, and they separate, where half of them, mostly the half that doesn't get killed, goes off to a bar. The other half stay there, with only Paul and Ginny returning to the camp. And I think this and the next two films take place right after each other. Like this takes place on Friday the 13th, and then Part 3 takes place on Saturday the 14th. I think so. Then Sunday the 15th is where the fourth one takes place. So I think that's how it works. But with this one, it's just confusing with the ending. Is Paul dead? Is he not? Who knows? We'll never see Paul again anyway, so, who knows? But Ginny was a strong final girl. You got Alice. I just remember her name. Alice in the first one, as I was trying to explain earlier. She's the final girl only because she's the last one left. That's it. She doesn't have an arc, She's just another one of the cannon fodder, and she just happens to be the last one there. Whereas Ginny, she has an arc, but she's kind of scared. She's, she doesn't know, and then she gets out there and she, stands up to Jason, and I know she's kind of whiny during the film until the end, and then there's, where's Paul? Where's Paul? That's a little whiny, but yeah, overall I did like this movie better than the last one. I'm gonna give it a solid. We'll give it an 8. An 8 out of 10 for me. This was a good movie. I enjoyed it. First movie with Jason. No mask yet, so that's why I haven't busted out my mask. That and I have to find it. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on Friday the 13th Part 2? You think it's one of the best in the franchise? I do. It's in the top 5 at least. So let me know in the comments what you think about Friday the 13th Part 2. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And it's still raining outside. Just want to let you know that. I'll see you guys next time.